Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Voice of the Entrepreneur. Again, I have a really special guest with us today. We got David Chandler. He is the co-founder of Creative Technology Resources. It's a recruiting company that does some really good work in the high-tech industry. He himself has placed over 1,000 people in his career, and his company has found jobs for over 500 people so far. So I'm really excited to have him on this program. Let's get into it. Let's welcome Dave.
Thank
How you doing, Dave?
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, for sure. Welcome to the Voice
Thank
of the
you for
Entrepreneur.
having me. Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me, Dave, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your business, and also your transition. I know we talked about it before, and you talked about how you transitioned from one career into this one.
I did, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that transition
Sure.
and what you're doing right now.
Let's see. It was mid-1990s,
Right.
and I had two little kids at home,
Yeah.
and I was kind of done with my career, you know.
Yeah.
I was looking for change. I was looking for something new.
Right.
And I happened to be in the right place at the right time and had an opportunity to take a very entry-level role in a administrative kind of role.
Okay.
And even though it was quite a departure from what I'd been doing,
Right.
I knew that if I jumped in there, all kinds of new doors would open for myself. So it was
Right.
it was scary, but it was also really exciting at the same time.
Nice.
And that I was able to parlay into a 20-year career that opened up into what I'm doing right now. So that leap of faith, doing something entirely different,
Right.
opened up a lot of doors to where I am right now.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That leap of faith that you just talked about. Every entrepreneur that I've ever spoken to talks about that leap of faith. So congratulations on making that leap of faith and getting to the place that you are. David, for a lot of people, you know, that are entrepreneurs or that are wanting to become entrepreneurs, one of the things that is a challenge is to build your own brand.
Yeah.
So tell us how you were able to build your brand in a relatively crowded industry, I would say, where there's a lot of players and there's a lot of, you know, big players as well.
Yeah.
Give us the experience or what you did differently to build that brand for yourself.
You know, when my business partner, Natalie, and I started our business, what we found was the things that we could do differently in recruiting. And, you know, our values, I think, really have defined us to where we are right now.
Right.
You know, recognizing that things could be done differently. Things could be done better within high-tech recruiting. And adding a more human element was really important to us. We're not a sales-driven. We haven't built a sales-driven model in our business. And we really wanted to create relationships with not only our clients, but the candidates that we're placing. Relationships are absolutely everything about what we're doing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And if we don't have those, we don't have the reputation. So I think one of the things that we've been really successful in our business is based on our reputation and the relationships that we've built over 20 years of work has really defined where we are right now.
Wow. So it's to build a brand. What you're saying is that relationship building is like building a brand as well.
Yeah.
And being, you know, in the service of people, like wanting to do not just good with your clients, but also the people that you're going to be placing.
Sure.
That's amazing. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, almost all entrepreneurs say the same. It resonates all the time. But specifically, in order to build your brand, like, you know, in the technical terms, is it enough to build a website? Is it enough to, you know, print out business cards? Or is there something more that you have to do to be as successful as you have been?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that the day-to-day approach to what we do in our work has been really critical. You know, I think if you start your day with an intention, like, I'm going to make this much money today, and this is what I'm going to be doing today, and it's all monetarily driven.
Right.
For me, I found that we're losing sight of why we really got into the business. We are relationship people, and if we're driven purely by a monetary figure, we're going to lose sight of why we're doing what we're doing.
Right.
So our approach has always been just do what we do really, really well. Build those relationships, find great people for great jobs out there,
Right.
and everything else comes together.
Right.
You know, the money will come.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
But if you focus purely on the money, it's almost like that cart before the horse kind of thing.
Yes.
You know?
Right.
And so I think what we found is just stay true to who we really are and what we do really well.
Okay.
And everything else has defined why we're successful.
So find what you're good at and really go 100% with it.
Yeah.
Great. I think that's awesome. I keep that advice to heart myself, because that's one of the ways that I believe that you can build a brand, is just sticking to what you can do best and just going for it 100%. Sure. Dave, great advice. Also, I want to talk to you about, starting a new business is not easy. You just talked about a leap of faith, right? But for a lot of entrepreneurs, when they're starting a business, they have to think about the demand. The demand for their product or service, whatever they're coming into the market with. How do you, as an entrepreneur, made that connection, or how did you determine that there is enough demand in the industry or in the market for you to come in as a new player?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because before we started, I had this little inner voice going, am I making the right choice? I want to do this, but am I making the right choice? Yeah. And then when I recognized, I talked to some trusted friends and industry connections, and they all told us very clearly that there is definitely demand for what we're going to build here. Right. And they all encouraged us to go for it. They all were that voice of reason in some ways, because you can have that little inner saboteur, that little inner voice that can talk you out of things. Yes. But when you get to hear people around you that believe in you and encourage you wholeheartedly, that was really what helped us propel us to do what we're doing right now. Wow. Right. And so I think in many ways, recognizing the demand was in part our familiarity with the industry, but also the encouragement and support from people that we trust and people that we know really closely, saying, go for it. You guys are going to rock it. Go out there and do it.
So it's important to go out there and talk to the people that are in the industry and to get that relevant data, if you will. Like, the people have to be able to say, there is demand, right? Sure. And then you do your own research and your own work, and then you make that decision. Yeah. Perfect. Dave, you are a recruiter, right? That's what you do. You hire people, you get them jobs.
Absolutely.
That's what you do. That means you have to be good with people. You have to be good at spotting the goods and the bad, right? Yeah. Let me ask you, for entrepreneurs, one of the things is that they have to hire people. What are the key characteristics that you would say, that you look for in individuals or candidate when you're placing them in a particular position? Like, what are the things to look for?
I think a lot of it comes down to the clients that we hire for. They're all working in very team-oriented environments. And when we're talking to a prospective candidate, we really want to make sure that the person thinks very team-oriented. They're a team player, which means they're not they're not in it for their own good. They're thinking in terms of, how can I help this company be successful? What can I bring to the company? And there's qualities in candidates, and you can hear it when you're interviewing them, when they think in those terms, like, how can I help you, as opposed to, what are you going to do for me? Right. And there's a really clear differentiation between those. And when I'm talking to a candidate, I can tell which of these categories, which camp this person's going to be in. Are they thinking in terms of, what is the company going to do for me? Or are they thinking, what can I offer this company?
That's amazing. That's a really good point. So if that's the case, if you're looking at it from that angle, then I guess the question would be, what would be the things to look out for when you're talking to them? What would be the telltale signs of red flags, for example?
If I were to ask a candidate talking about their career and where they've had successes, they're going to talk in terms of part of the team. This is what we were able to achieve together. And here's what challenges we had, and here's how we overcame it. This was my role in it, but there was other people involved. So it's not all me. And when you get someone who is still got an ounce of humility, and they still have that desire to win with others.
Right.
And it isn't all about like, how am I going to be able to propel my own career, and how is that company going to help me?
Right.
That I think is the key. And when you can hear a candidate recalling parts of their career where they've been successful, but it's been more than just them doing it. It's been they're part of a team effort.
Wow. So is that also a way to, and I know there are no guarantees, but is this a way to ensure that people aren't going to leave your team and they're going to stick around for a longer period?
Yeah,
right?
Tenure is a big one. And when we're talking to clients, that's probably the biggest thing, is they want to get someone who's on board, who really wants to grow with the company and lay down roots. And let's face it, in high tech, if you can get 1 or 2 years out of a person nowadays, it's you've almost got a return on your investment. But in many ways, our clients, they really want to see someone, 3 to 5 years, come in, get a few projects under your belt, and be successful with the company before you're ready to move onto your next big move. And I think that mentality, when a candidate isn't ready to use this particular job as a stepping stone into their next one in another company, that indicates that you've got that mentality of commitment to the company.
Great point. I think that's so much to take from that, right? Yeah. Because even for me, in my last business, like people leaving is a big challenge. How do you motivate them? I thought that making them become part of the story was a good way of motivating them to be there. Great, Dave. Yeah. Let me ask you, any daily rituals that you follow, that you have, that you do every day, that keeps you on track to your goals or your objectives?
That's a really good question. Yeah. It's really interesting you bring that up, because 6 months ago, I actually started meditating as part of a daily morning ritual. Yes. I find it really grounds me, brings me to my core. I find that inner peace. And that's really been the biggest difference in my day. I find when I can start my day with that level of inner peace, and all the things that happen throughout the day, the breathing work in the morning is so fundamental to being able to remain calm through the day and stay grounded and focused through the day. So that's probably the biggest thing is as a daily ritual.
Meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a powerful one.
It is.
Like when you can, one of the things that I do, and I've heard other people say this as well, is the visualization technique. Is that when you meditate and you think about something and, you almost feel that you're there. Yeah. Is that something that you also incorporate in your meditation? The visualization?
I think so. Yeah. I don't often think about my work as part of my meditation. I just think about my core. And my breathing. And I don't really bring into what my day is going to look like, or my work, or my interaction with clients or candidates. It's really an opportunity to get one with self.
Right. Awesome. Dave, shifting gears a little bit, I want to ask you, as a recruiter, I'm sure you have experience with this and you can get great advice on this. What are the skills do you think that people should foster, or that they should start working on, that you just can't get in school, that you see have a lot of value in the real world? And I know this is an entrepreneurial show, and this could be applied to a job, or it could be applied anywhere. But what are the skills that you see that people just don't get from school, but you look for?
That's a really good question. I would say what I find is a lot of people that we hire have gone through their education doing team projects. And when you're doing that, I think that's a real skill, is to be able to learn how to work with others effectively and communicate with others in a team environment, looking at deadlines, looking at your responsibilities and how these are all going to be met within a particular time frame, and helping others when you need to, when they need your help.
That's an essential.
And being able to jump in and offer assistance, really key. And even though I think a lot of students, when they're in school, they're doing these, I don't necessarily think they always think about how they're going to apply those skills out there in the real world. You know, I've often heard of a lot of students, for example, saying, you know, I was on a project and nobody wanted to do the project and I had to end up doing it all myself. And there are learnings that they can take from that, where they can encourage others or help delegate, or, you know, jump in where they need to do it without having to do everything.
Right.
There are communication skills that individuals can take early in their career that they can apply throughout their career.
That's awesome. So the skills that you should invest in yourself would be team building, communication,
for sure,
and just being part of that community or that team, I guess, to promote the work and help others when they need it.
Absolutely.
I agree. They don't teach you that in school very much, so totally a great advice there for sure. Dave, what advice would you have for someone that wants to go down the same path you are? That's someone who's looking at you and saying, I want to do what Dave's doing. What would be some concrete advice, some concrete steps that one could take tomorrow to get on that path towards success where you are?
You know, I'm really glad you asked that, because at a certain point in our career, we can hit a roadblock. We can feel like I'm no longer feeling fulfilled. And there's opportunities out there when you really think about what you are good at and what you want to do. But that fear can be real, you know, and that inner voice that is telling you, like, I'm going to fail. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And, you know, all these little self-doubts can come in. My advice would be allow those in. You don't want to push them away because they're real. They're fears. But don't let them consume you. Don't let them take over.
Right.
I had a lot of fear.
Right.
Starting a business with someone I'd never worked with, going into this, and I jumped in. You know, I allowed myself to feel the fear, but I didn't let it consume me.
Right. And
within a week, we'd already closed our first deal.
wow.
So I knew right away that we had something, you know. Right. And so my biggest advice would be, don't allow yourself to get pulled too into the fear. Feel it, but don't let it consume you.
Wow, yeah. So fear is what stops most people from taking on the dream that they have, right? Because it's what I'm not good enough.
Fear of success.
Fear of success.
Fear of failure.
Absolutely, and thinking that if I go into this, I'm not good enough to have success in this, and that's why most people fail.
For sure.
Great advice. I think fear is one thing that stops people. Anything else that you think in terms of the concrete steps that one can take? I know a lot of entrepreneurs say, it's not about like writing a business plan and executing it, but there could be hurdles like I don't have enough money, or I don't have the right talent or the resources. I know it's a fear, but what do you think that one can do to produce, perhaps like get over that hurdle of money or resources? What do you think?
I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier. If your primary motivation is money, you're gonna hit a brick wall.
Right.
But if you really dig deep and recognize what you're good at and what you're offering, that service that you're offering, a product that you're offering, focus on that.
Right.
I think that to me is the key, because if we started our business purely to make money, we would have hit a lot of roadblocks along the way.
Yes.
But what we recognized is within our business, the reputation that we had, the connections and relationships that we had, we focused on those, and what we're good at, the money will come. So raising money and starting a business, absolutely, you got to have capital, but you have to look at your core offering, what you're good at, and the service that you're providing, or the product that you're putting out there. Focus on that as opposed to how am I going to have enough money to do this? How am I going to have enough money to do that? It's almost a mind shift, I think.
Absolutely. Great point on that as well. I mean, you're right. It's really the core value that you're offering.
Right.
And the fear that stops you, if you have enough faith in that core offering, then you can move past it and go
Right.
ahead. And I think that's what you did, and that's why you've been able to, invite that kind of success in your life.
For sure.
Dave, thank you so much for sitting down here
man,
with
it's
me
been
and
a
having
pleasure.
this conversation.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Thank you for welcoming us in your beautiful home.
Thank you.
It's just such a beautiful place.
Thank you.
And I would love to sit down with you again to see where you have been in your journey a few years down the line to
Let's
see
do
how
it.
you've succeeded as
Yeah,
well.
part 2.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man.
Great.
Thank you.
Again, guys, amazing interview. Just another heart-filled, soul-centered entrepreneur that wants to share their knowledge to create that level of success for others as well. And this is why I do these interviews, because there's just so much value in having these conversations. So like Dave was saying, fear can stop you and it can take away from you the belief and the faith in your core offering. But it's really a matter of going further into that fear and exploring that and then going past it. I hope you really enjoyed this interview. I did. It was a great conversation. Until I see you again next time, have a great one, my friend.